Hello, this training is brought to you by uscivicstraining.org. George Washington's Farewell Address, Part 8, Closing Thoughts. And in this section, Washington says that he hopes this advice is heeded and that it keeps the United States from repeating the lessons of history. In paragraph 43, near the end, he says this: "In offering to you, my countrymen, these counsels of an old and affectionate friend, I dare not hope they will make the strong and lasting impression I could wish." What he's saying here is that these feelings are felt so strongly by him that he cannot even hope that you will feel them with the might and fervor that he feels them. They're just generic to his core, and he wishes he could pass the full impact of that along. That they will control the usual currents of the passions, these thoughts that he's sharing, that they would offer some degree of control and rein people in, or that they might prevent our nation from running the course which has hitherto marked the destiny of other nations. He's basically saying here that a constitutional republic that's governed by people is a fragile thing, and each generation needs to maintain it. And as we've already learned in these seminars, the morality and the virtue of the people are central to a healthy and a free government. That these thoughts may be productive of some partial benefit, some occasional good, that they may now and then recur to moderate the fury of party spirit, to warn against the mischiefs of foreign intrigue, to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism. And boy, that's a great phrase there, as citizens sniffing out the impostors of pretended patriotism and calling those that are really not patriots what they are. This hope will be a full recompense or a full compensation for the solicitude, that is, for the care and well-being of your welfare. And so this hope that some of his advice might be followed would be full compensation and would be and ultimately for our welfare if we followed his advice. And to follow it, you need to know it, which means we need to study this farewell address. And these are the sentiments in which they've been dictated for our well-being and for our happiness. Though in reviewing the incidents of my administration, I'm unconscious of any intentional error, I am nevertheless too sensible of my defects not to think it probable that I may have committed many errors. Whatever they may be, I fervently beseech the Almighty to avert or mitigate the evils to which they may tend. You may recall in the opening part of the farewell address that in paragraph 6, right at the beginning, he sought heaven's blessings for our country, and he mentioned that. And so it's interesting now as he closes that he also appeals to God to avert or mitigate the evils or the mistakes that he would have made. And so again, bookending his whole address with sentiments toward God. I shall also carry with me the hope that my country will never cease to view them with indulgence, and that after 45 years of my life dedicated to its service with an upright zeal, the faults of incompetent abilities which will be consigned to oblivion, as myself must soon be to the mansions of rest. And so he's basically saying here that the citizens would also forgive him for any shortcomings, because he certainly tried his best in his 45 years of service to the country, and boy, is that an understatement. Relying on its, that is my country's kindness, and this as in other things, and actuated by the fervent love towards it, which is so natural to man, who views it in the native soil of himself and his progenitors for several generations, I anticipate with pleasing expectation that retreat, in which I promise myself to realize without mixed feelings the sweet enjoyment of partaking in the midst of my fellow citizens the benign influence of good laws under a free government. And so I went through a long section of this particular sentence and paragraph, but he's basically saying, now as I begin to retire, I am looking forward to joining my fellow citizens and living together with them underneath good laws and underneath a free government. The ever favorite of my object of my heart, and the happy reward, as I trust, of our mutual cares, labors, and dangers. And that's how George Washington ends his farewell address, saying, basically signing off, I'm a citizen and that's where I'll return, and I look forward as co-equals to joining my fellow citizen under the benign influence of good laws and a free government. Signed, George Washington. Washington's farewell address ignored greatly in society today, but full of rich ideas and a deep understanding of where freedom and liberty come from, and on the charge by him to cherish and protect and guard our U.S. Constitution. Again, as I've said before, you can get a PDF copy of these presentations as well as a PDF copy of George Washington's farewell address with some summarizing statements at uscivicstraining.org. My name's Craig Seibert. Thanks for listening.